Okay, this is the November 10th, 2025 Brentwood Municipal Budget Committee meeting. Just, I guess all members are present.
I see that.
We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes from the October 27th, 2025 regular meeting.
I already corrected the spelling of Dan's name. It's really difficult. D-A-N. I have DNA. No, no, even the first name.
A lot of times you
I
get
was
that?
surprised it didn't auto capitalize the whole thing. I
Thank
thought
you,
it was
Michelle.
funny.
No problem.
Then I'd like to make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to accept the October 27th, 2025 meeting minutes with the one change of Dan from DNA. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Oh, one abstain. Next on the agenda is updates from the Select Board. Letty, anything?
I'm trying to think if there's anything that is not gonna come up as part of the budgets. The select board voted to approve no more than 2.8% increase in any employee's wage. I had asked if that was COLA, since that is 2.8 is federal Social Security COLA for 2026. Clarified, no, it's not COLA. It is any combination of COLA and merit that any department wanted to give, but it is not specifically COLA.
Thank you for that clarification.
At least because I asked, because I was like, okay, so COLA. It was like, no, not COLA. Okay.
Anything else?
We have a new police chief and a new fire chief. I mean, mostly just budgets lately.
Cool.
Is there anything else that I'm forgetting?
No.
Okay.
Dan, school?
School board update for this week. I'm going to actually start with academic outcomes this time. So the students all take the NHSAS assessments every spring. And it's 3rd through 8th grade across the whole state, math and ELA. And it's basically the primary benchmarking tool that's used to, determine instructional strategies, to determine academic growth, and academic interventions. And it helps to inform a lot of funding as well. Although the students took their assessment last spring, it does take a while for the official results to get released by the state. So those just came through over the past few weeks here. And so I'm really proud to share that Swayze students scored 75% of Swayze school students. So this is 3rd through 5th graders who take the math and the ELA assessments. 75% of them scored proficient or above. The state average for math, I have it here in front of me. The state average for math is actually only 48% of students scoring proficient or above, so less than half of students across the state are proficient in mathematics, whereas Swayze has 75% of their students. And then ELA, 53% is the state average for ELA proficiency. And again, just coincidentally, 75% of Swayze students were proficient or above in ELA as well. So really exciting in terms of reporting out on academic outcomes. The other cool part is when you look across all of the other, there's a total of 6 towns in SAU 16, Brentwood, East Kingston, Stratham, Exeter, Newfields, and Kensington as well. Brentwood's right at the top of that list in terms of comparative proficiency rates in both math and ELA. And per pupil cost that we pay per student to fund the education is the lowest in that
Yeah,
list.
I was gonna say top, meaning with the lowest.
Right. So just in terms of like efficiency and outcomes, and it's just really amazing stuff happening. Swayze's a magical place, so I'm really appreciative to be a part of that work. And so that's the academic outcomes update. We also held a public budget hearing on Monday of last week. So just prior to our normal monthly school board meeting, we had 30 minutes open to the public to look at a few different scenarios for the 2020 for funding the 2026-27 school year, which is what we're planning for now. So thanks for all that attended that. Jim, you included. And there was a great presentation that was presented by our assistant superintendent at the SAU, Dr. Bennett, that sort of walks through those three scenarios and some implications of recent state legislation that has passed. So I won't get into all of that now, but I think it was posted today, that presentation, to the Swayze School SAU 16 website, so anyone can dig into that. And so that was sort of the Kickstarter for our conversations on the school board for next year's budget. We got a lot of good input from multiple school board members and the public, so it was a really good start to that.
Great, thank
Yep.
you so much, Dan. With that, we'll jump into budgets to review. Actually, I had a request from the chair of the planning board to move the position, so I updated that so that we could get that one done first. I had sent you all out the summary for the planning board budget. You can come forward. So, and they had provided what we had requested in terms of all of the funded positions. So I have the town planner, I have and the town planner, just so you know, is a contracted position. So that, the wages are in there with the percent increase. The land use administrator, the rate increase was adjusted to the 2.8 that the select board had requested. And if you look at the total tab, you can basically, they're linked, so you can see what the total wages at the 2025 rate and at 2026 rate are, as well as the FICA and the retirement. So if you look at what I had sent you, it's the updated, the BudCom column. And actually, if anyone who's viewing at home, if the screen that you're looking at is too small, I did post all of these documents under the agenda. So, yes. Sorry. That's okay.
I was confused because I thought Mark was getting paid $100,000 a year, and I didn't understand.
Oh, where is he? No, no, not yet.
Okay, 'cause the one that you said, the one that says total,
Yes.
I thought that was a person.
No. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just basically, so for the departments that have multiple employees, I find it's easier just to link them all to a total tab.
Okay.
And then I can just bring that into the first appropriation sheet, depending on how it's done. Because some of the appropriations, depending on the account, so the departments list just one line for salary wages. Others have individual job descriptions on there, With that, I mean, I'll open it up to the board or the chair if you have anything you wanted to add.
I don't think so. So in terms of what you changed from what we had, it's just the 3% to 2.8%.
Correct.
And then the wages, there's 13 weeks at the 2020, at, the current rate, and then the remainder of the year would be less. So you made those
Correct.
adjustments?
The only thing that was changed was 2.8%. And I have it up on the
Okay.
screen right now on the land use administrator instead of 3%. And it basically just automatically, calculates out based on the 13 and 39. Yes, that's correct.
And for my reference for calculating things, does retirement factor into overtime or no? Does.
Yeah, what I've been seeing on the ones that are turned in is that, yes, retirement is factored in, yes.
Okay.
This is, I'm sorry, silly question. It says BudCom approved.
Yeah, I was just putting that would be what we finish tonight. When we vote this evening, that column will get updated to whatever. And the only reason why I put it there was because it's showing the difference between the 3% that was approved by and proposed by the select board versus what we're changing it to 2.8 tonight based on the vote that the select board had.
Okay, just as long as it's not confusing, it confused me.
Correct. You're right. It is not, that, and this just went to basically to us, yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
I could. We're going to vote it now, so it will be.
I haven't. No, we haven't. The
I was-
select board has not voted on the 2.8 in this budget yet.
But the 2.8 for across the
Not
board
2.8,
was
did
the-
they vote on what they
vote.
proposed?
Yes.
And was it approved?
Yes.
So that would be approved and that would be proposed. I'm just,
No.
or both proposed.
Just so you know, the proper terminology for anything that's approved by the select board is the select board proposed budget for 2026. The select board proposes a budget to the budget committee. Whatever number comes in, whatever we approve is the budget committee approved budget. And that's actually what gets sent to the state and is what the legislative body will vote on.
But if we change anything today, that somebody pulling this particular worksheet would,
But the only one who really has this worksheet is myself, and obviously you all have a PDF copy of it. And the only reason why I put this here was so that you could see the difference, so that the department head, the chair, can see that the minor changes between the select board proposed and what.
that's okay,
I
Jim,
think
I
we should vote on
apologize,
it.
I didn't realize that this wasn't posted. If this was posted, then that's,
No, yeah, this isn't,
okay,
and,
sorry.
no, don't be sorry. It's like, you're right. I could have put proposed until after we voted this evening, but it's the standard template that I have.
I have a different number for FICA Medicare. Can you just show me,
Sure.
go back to the land use admin one? How many hours did you put in for,
40 hours a week.
no, for the overtime?
It's just, I put in a stipend of $2,000. It's a it's a $2,000 line item budget.
It's not a
isn't it?
stipend though, like it's a,
But for the calculation, right, because it's gonna base these numbers by, so the wages are 57,976.
yep.
With the overtime money that goes in, it turns into 59,976.
No, because it would be time and a half, because it's overtime.
But the budget, I just
But
did
the-
the budget line was $2,000, so I'm not figuring out like how many hours that is at all. I just took the 2,000, there was a
I see.
$2,000.
Okay.
So again, I took the $2,000 that was listed, it was just an amount.
Did you have a number of hours that was tied to or no?
No, we had this discussion before. We were just trying to come in at a number that we think is reasonable based on what we've seen this year.
And how many hours overtime has he had this year?
I don't know offhand. I know it was up to like 1,500 total.
Can't give you a direct correlation to hours, but it's probably around $1,100 so far. And that's why we brought that budget line down from 3 to 2.
Overtime is 1.5 time, yeah.
It really all depends. So let's take this week, for example. We have a holiday, right? I'll get paid for the holiday, but any overtime that I work wouldn't go towards the overtime line because I won't be getting overtime pay. I'd still be getting a regular hourly rate. To get overtime, you have to work over 40 hours.
So I could answer your question, Letty. It's, if you take the $2,000 divided by the new rate, the 2806
Mhm.
times 1.5,
Mhm.
that comes out to be 47.5 hours.
Okay.
So the spreadsheet that you had up versus the one that I had, the only changes were to reflect the 2.8%.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. That is.
And just so everybody knows, in that far right column, it shows an increase you know, 6%, and then I think for FICA Medicare, 9%. And that has to do with the rate change, right? There was one rate at the beginning of the year, and that changes, so the total makes it
Correct.
look higher
Correct.
than it is. And there had been an error last year in the FICA Medicare calculation, and I think the retirement calculation. So those look a little higher too, but it's really all based on now 2.8% over the rate at the end of the year.
No, and I think that's why it's good that the select board and the budget committee have asked for the details this year, and we're kind of all doing it, so we're all kind of sanity checking each other.
It's good
as
to
well,
have
so,
a lot of
yeah,
eyes on
absolutely.
it, for sure.
And I know it's helped all of us to do it together, because some of the, again, department heads have used the calculated, you've done it together, so we've definitely discovered some of that. Questions from the board?
This is, I mean, I guess, yes, it is gonna impact the planning board budget, but kind of all of them is, do we wanna have the conversation about 2.8 versus the 3% placeholder now? Cause I kind of feel like
I
we should.
honestly, I don't mind if we have it now.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
So obviously I know social security set at 2.8%, and so that's what we were talking about last time. But I just pulled up the BLS numbers for inflation and then took the last 12 months for the Northeast and also New England. And in the Northeast, inflation has been 3.025% over the last 12 months, whereas New England's been 3.3416 repeated for a while, so we're gonna round that to 7 for the last 12 months. So the 3% number might actually be a better reflection of what inflation has looked like for the employees impacted by the budgets here. So I would propose that we stay with the 3%, would be what I'm interested in, despite the fact that select board wanted to do 2.8 for both merit and COLA. Because I think it's a more fair number to accurately represent, and if anything, you know, the Northeast is bigger, and everyone who's gonna work here works in New England, which has had the 3.34-ish % inflation. With the last few months that there's data for being the highest and kind of pulling that number back up from 2.8. I know Jack used to always send us those every month, so that's why I was just like, I just want to take a look and see what this looks like. And I was like, oh,
Right.
inflation gross.
Again, I understand there's a difference between the inflation numbers and the COLA number, but historically, I believe the select board in the town has been using a COLA number when they've been doing, or higher. And again, I think that the select board, when they did this vote, it's bigger than looking at, I think they're trying to look at what the town can afford and looking at the history of increases salary-wise, what the right thing to do with the tax cap, as well as with the budget that we had, the town
I don't
appropriation
think you
amount.
should speculate about what the select board.
Well,
I think you can say what they voted on, but I don't think you
Okay.
can speculate on what their thought process.
then I would just say that yeah, you can, you know, if you want to make a motion, I personally think that we should not go above what the select board has recommended to all the department heads. But again,
Just a note on ours. So if you use the calculation, which I don't recall if we had this at the select board meeting when they voted on our budget, but the one with the 13 weeks and the 39 weeks, at 3%, our budget overall increases at 4%. So, and that was the number, and I know that, you know, we weren't instructed to do that, but we were trying very hard to stay within the cap. So even if you do the 3%, and I will say that's, you know, there's inflation and there's merit, and Mark's taken on a lot of responsibility this year, and he's trying to upgrade some of the things that we're doing, and he's been working hard to do that. So I think 3% is more than fair, especially given the changes in inflation. So if you do the 3%, we're still within the 4% budget cap. And we're really, you know, in our budget, we're talking about just a few $100s. Really.
Sure. Like I said, I'm just giving my opinion on it, that the select board did vote this. And with my trustee hat, I did a cemetery budget and review. We just voted on Thursday that we went to the 2.8 based on the feedback that the select board gave us, that they said you had to do that. And the select board usually is the one who sets the levels with the department heads, so. But again, she's right, we could absolutely, if you want to make a motion, you can do that. I mean, we can put whatever numbers we want in here from a budgeting standpoint.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to vote on the budget that was approved by the select board, which then has the 3% over 2.8.
Second.
So I have,
What was the amount?
It is for 100,635. Oh, that's salaries. Oops, wrong line. $120,061.
I think actually, and that was with the rate for 52 weeks. So if you do that adjustment, the 13 and 39 is
No,
actually,
So-
I'm fine leaving it for 52.
okay.
so how do you want your motion to be? Do you want to make a motion to change, to just approve the amount, the 120,061, or do you want me to change this to 3% to let it flow through and then what that number is? It's up, whatever, you need to make the motion.
He's asking you, do you want to approve this number, basically? And then let them decide how they want to handle the internal stuff?
Yeah. Yes, I think we can approve just that number and then the planning board can handle as they see fit.
Isn't that the case anyways?
No.
We can't dictate. I don't
Yes,
think,
we
right?
can't.
We can,
dictate.
we can
I-
definitely approve the 120,006 if she's making
Right,
a
no,
motion.
I'm saying we can't dictate how the money is spent. So we can't say that it can only go to this or that,
Correct.
right? So it would be the number anyways, just the total number.
Yeah, I was just asking for clarification, because if it's a 3%, I can change it to 3%. I just did, and it'll flow through, but the numbers aren't going to be exact with the select board because there was some other differences, but, so I was just asking, do you
what
want the
is-
3%?
What is that 3% number then flowing through?
119,548.
No, it's still.
That's the number with the splitting the 13 weeks and 39 weeks
Correct.
is 119,548. The select board approved 120,061.
061,
Which is
that's correct.
over 52 weeks.
So I just need, again, I want to make sure
I'm
I'm
sorry.
clear on what you're,
She made a motion for an amount.
Are we
I
gonna-
did. I'm also confused because all of the numbers on your final spreadsheet were the exact same as the one that the PDF I'm looking at with 2.8%.
one,
Oh,
They're
okay,
like
there.
by Under hungry.
it's not going to make much of a difference, to be honest, right?
Yeah, no,
But-
my motion is for the amount, the 120 and $61.
So I personally am not going to support that because my feeling is we should be at the 2.8 for everybody.
I just want to make sure before we're discussing it, I have a motion for the 120,061, and is that what you're seconded?
I had a second, yeah.
Seconded on that motion. So I guess, Michelle, that's the discussion now on that motion. I will say the same as Michelle. Again, I don't think we should be going above what the select board has approved for departments. And the fact that we're doing it per what they voted and they just haven't reopened their budgets yet, it really is not that big of a deal, since our number is what matters. But that's just my comment.
To be clear, though, I had proposed the 2.8.
You did.
Before the select board.
You absolutely did.
Made that determination, so that's not necessarily why I'm saying to keep it at the 2.8, but.
Any other discussion on that motion?
I'm curious. In this budget, the difference is $400 potentially. And that feels like if the planning board chair says that this person deserves that $400, it feels like that's an okay thing for me to vote on. However, what I'm worried about is moving forward, how we would be picking and choosing based on budgets. And I do think that the planning board chair did specifically try to stay within the 4%.
I think
This is a tough one.
what I think is, if I understood correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're looking at inflation, and we're seeing that it's over 3%,
Yeah.
and at least based on the number of years that I've been on the budget committee, it's always been inflation plus merit. This year, we're already taking merit out just by the fact that
Setting it at
inflation is higher,
Yeah.
right? So the bottom line is something that each department will have to manage. I think that the biggest asset that this town has are the people. So to take it and cut it even lower, below inflation, I think is a bit of a punch that might be perceived that way as well. And I personally don't think we should be doing it. And if we want to discuss the total amounts and, look at it that way, that's fine. But in terms of compensation, no, I don't feel comfortable cutting it below inflation. And we already do, because it's over 3% for this
Right.
year. So even if it was at 3% and no merit, it's already less than, like in the past years, it was 3% plus up to 2% of merit.
Yeah, that is basically my exact thought process on it. Is if we're looking to cut somewhere, I don't think the pockets of our employees who work hard for this town is the place to do it. And especially, I mean, in this budget, it's the difference between like $400. And that feels unfair to be setting the cost of living adjustment, which is the adjustment to keep up with inflation, at 0.5% difference than what inflation realistically is for this area. So I think 3%, which is still lower than that number, feels a little bit more fair.
And again, I'll go back to what comment that was made. The cemetery trustees voted on Thursday to use 2.8% because that's what we were told. So now, again, are we going to make the cemetery 3%?
Who told you
Which
that?
The select board voted it.
Right, but was that actually
So
disseminated
department heads are to follow what the select board recommendation is for raises. That's how it works. I mean, I at least that's how I've always been told to do it. I didn't think I had the liberty to go give raises on whatever I felt my employee.
So I
needed.
guess the question would be then,
I had to
if,
stick to what the year before. The year before I did, I believe it was, 3 and 5 or 3 and 2, 3 and 2, 3%
So
COLA,
if-
2% max merit, and I did the performance appraisal and gave it appropriately. And then finally, it might be $400 now, but when we get to a police and fire budget, it probably will be a lot more than $400. So, like I said, I think the select board in this case has done their due diligence and figuring out how they wanted the raises to be set for the municipal employees this year. And I know we have to look at the overall budget and how it fits into the tax cap. So I'm just concerned that if we change this one, what are we going to do on all the rest of them?
Can I ask, the 2.8%, was that, so typically the way you look at it is across the board, there's a max, or I'm sorry, there's an amount that you're gonna do for raises when you account for everybody. So it's not every single person gets 2.8%. This person gets 2, this person gets 1.5, this person gets 3.7, and you want it to all add up to 2.8%. Is that the way the select board is looking at it?
No.
Because if that's the case, then there might be departmental
I can't tell you
differences based
how
on-
other
it's
members
truly
of the select-
merit.
I can't tell you how other members of the select board were thinking about it. I can tell you that was not part of the conversation. during that meeting.
And again, I can only speak for as, like you, I got an email that this year we were to use a 3% as a placeholder. In the past, the last 2 years when I've done my budget on the cemetery, I was told so much COLA, which everyone, I assume everyone got that amount, and then it was so much merit. And I was given forms to do performance appraisal. It was a process of where, you fill out 1 through 5, and then in the end, your employee gets, and I did all that. And you're right, not everybody, I only had 1 employee, but not everyone would get the merit, because if they weren't a perfect 5 out of 5. But this year wasn't the case, right? This year I was told to use a placeholder 3, but then they voted to change that to a 2.8% max. And the cemetery trustees, we voted on Thursday with our employee based on what she had done this year, that we felt she deserved to have the full amount, 2.8. So again, my concern is that, some department heads are following the rules, and then now are we just gonna start to vote, one department gets 3, one doesn't? I don't know. I think that starts to get a little bit unfair. And again, where I look at us being more charged at the overall budget and not getting into the individual, like what level the town sets for either a mandatory COLA or a max merit-based raise.
It sounds more like a mandatory COLA than a merit, because you can't,
The select board very definitively did not call it a COLA. I asked that for clarification, knowing that it was going to come up
Correct.
here, and was specifically told it was not COLA and no merit. It was whatever combination of merit and COLA that departments wanted to use, as long as it didn't total more than 2.8.
Letty, I'm a little confused. Is it actually a rule?
I don't know.
Like, that's where I need a clarification,
I-
because
I-
historically, I don't, well, is it actually a rule? Like, because even when, in prior years, when it was 3+5, there were a number of cases where it was more than that for whatever reasons and whatever, and we always listened to that. Like, I'm not, so I'm trying to understand if it's a rule or if it's a suggestion that the board can make.
A
I don't know.
rule by who? I'm not,
Like, is it actually, they setting up a policy? Like,
I don't know.
I mean, if the policy existed, we should be able to read it
There
somewhere.
is no policy.
well, that's,
Right.
that's
I
what
can
I'm
tell
saying.
you
So it's just a
definitively that there's no
suggestion then,
policy.
right? It's their suggestion, because in the end, again, we can't dictate how, the budget is a bottom line, right?
mhm.
No.
So we can have a suggestions on a number of items, and the select board can suggest a number of items, but in the end, it's the bottom line that people are
As
voting.
long as you say, when you say bottom line, we are specifically talking about the planning board account in the budget, right? The 01-4191. And we, the budget committee, whatever we approve is the number that will be set with the state and with the legislative
But the
body.
bottom line
bottom.
number.
That is correct. That is correct.
So those lines within there
Correct.
is not something.
No.
Okay.
But I
think
mean,
that's what she's
obviously, we
saying.
put something in there so we know how to add it up. We'll come to
Right,
something.
but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is that we are voting on the bottom line, and the town is voting.
That is
votes on the
correct.
Bottom line,
That's correct.
okay.
And the bottom line that gets voted out at town meeting is not the one that select board has approved, it's the one that we approve.
Right.
Correct.
So if it's a policy, as you said, like, it should be written down somewhere, so it kind of feels more like a suggestion that we cannot try to guess why everyone maybe.
I don't think that I don't think the select board can dictate what the budget committee can and cannot do.
That's correct.
So,
And I don't think either should be tied to any specific number year over year.
Mhm.
We make that determination each year.
Mhm.
There have been years that nobody got raises at all.
Mhm.
That's actually happened in this town. So,
So again, back to, I believe there's a motion to set the planning board number to 3%. There was a second. Is there any more discussion?
I'll make one more comment if I can.
Sure.
The Social Security recipients who get that 2.8% increase are not getting any kind of inflation increase. So they're still gonna have to pay. Well, their 2.8 is their 2.8, yes, but they're not getting anything in addition to that. So they're, they don't get that benefit of paying their tax bill with that additional increase.
I just wanted to clarify really quickly, Jim, her motion had nothing to do with a percentage. It was just 120.
It was keeping the 3% salary increase is why she was making
The
that,
only way you get to that number is
saying
by
that
using
amount.
roughly a 3% increase. And again, my concern is we're sending
But
that
also the
message to other
52 weeks.
departments that are turning in their budgets to the select board, being told that they're to use 2.8. But again,
Doesn't this also include the 52 weeks?
Can you speak more about what we're talking about, the 52 weeks versus the
Yes.
13 and
So,
39?
so if you look at any of these calculations with the salaries,
Mm.
the raise goes into effect April 1st. So
Right, yeah.
whatever budget, the way we vote these budgets, the salary increases go into effect on April 1st. So whatever the increase.
Choice. The select board chooses to do it that way.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And thus you run into where you have 13 weeks, the first 13 weeks of the year are at the current salary rate, wage rate or salary rate, and then you have 39 at the new rate.
And so the
And-
planning board's original budget was all used 52 instead of 39?
Yes. So if you go back, can you go back to the summary page where, do you see how the increase, it looks like it's 6%? But it's
First
not.
one.
That's because of the 13 and 39 week thing?
It's more than that.
Oh, why is it more than that?
I think she said because they didn't do 13 and 39.
Well, I think
Because if you do
I think
13 and
last year, too,
39,
there
I've
was,
done the math, it's 3.5%.
There was also a
3%.
thing, you're right, this is a bad example. There was a thing that happened last year.
Correct.
But my personal opinion is that switching to 52 means that we can't, there's no more waving of hands and saying, oh, that looks like a higher percentage because of the week split.
Okay, but again, I don't believe the budget committee has the authority to change when the raises go into effect, do we? I don't believe so. I thought that's operation of the town, that's select board.
Right, but
purview.
we're not talking about, we're voting on a number. We're voting on
Yeah, but
120.
now if you're gonna try to confuse this even more and have a budget committee who's figuring out total appropriation based on a salary increase that's gonna go into effect in January, when it doesn't go into effect in January, you're just gonna be over appropriating every department. So I don't know, you're starting to pull us off into an area.
I guess what I'm
You
saying.
tried to get this passed
hold on.
on select board and it failed. I got up and spoke in
I-
favor of it, it failed. So I
wanna
don't know why
say
it's
something
coming up
really
here.
quickly about the April 1st raises. Those are not guaranteed. Even if this budget passes, the select board that is sitting there on April 1st can decide not to give those raises.
Totally correct.
So saying that
But what does that have to do with the budget committee and what we're doing right now?
nothing,
Okay, so then why did you bring it up? I don't know. I mean, like,
because you were talking about things that the select
no,
board
she
couldn't
asked
put
the
it to.
question about the 13 and 39.
Sure.
And the truth is that if a person, if for this year, because last year was a 5%
Right.
roughly,
No,
for
I get how
everybody,
that
you get this
works.
weird.
I totally get how that
Okay.
works. What I was wondering is the number that we're voting on
Mhm.
is the one that was calculated with 52 weeks, and that I think should be corrected, which is what you were saying, that you corrected more things than just the 3%.
Right, correct.
And so,
What I will say to that, Jim, is just like if this board feels as though the correct number is 3%, if this board decides that the better way to do it is 52 and not 13 and 39, they can do that too. And then the select board will have to decide how to handle that. That's all. It's the same thing. This board can do what they want to do, and then the select board can decide how they want to handle that.
right, I get what you're saying, Letty, in that that's a future, even if we approve something 2.8 or 3%, like it doesn't mean that it's going to
Yes.
be awarded.
The 13 and 39 weeks at 3% is, the total is 119,548.
Right.
Correct.
Which is a more precise forecast, right? Because it's a more precise sort of prediction of when that raise would kick in.
Correct. That is when it will kick in.
Yeah.
If
And
we
what's
as a
the
town
argument to the
continue to
contrary?
do that.
Because if, like I said, we can budget it for the whole year, but it's not, the raise will go into effect in April, so there'll just be an extra
Jim,
amount.
you
of-
just
If we
acknowledged,
as a town.
you just
continue to do
acknowledged that it doesn't have to go in April. You just acknowledged that the select board might decide not to do that, right? Like,
Okay.
But what's the argument to the contrary? Like, what's the argument for 52 weeks? I just, I'm not understanding it.
easier to
it's
follow
easier
year
for,
over
cal-
year
for
budget
for
purposes.
calculation over year, for the average person to understand when they see that percentage.
Because our
It's the
budget is actually
straight
January
percent.
to December.
So you just want
so
to
it
try to
can-
change, potentially change precedent to switch it to a more simplified formula. For
Right.
future years.
Basically the way that it works now, we budget for 52 weeks at a rate, but it is split over 2 fiscal years.
Got it.
I am just advocating that we instead have it over a single fiscal year for easier purposes of calculation and for easier understanding for the average person.
And this attempt was made. The member brought it up at a select board meeting, made a motion. I spoke publicly in favor of it. It failed. It didn't even, I don't believe it got a second.
Does that mean that this board can't also hear the explanation?
No.
Okay.
Again, I think the motion that was on the floor was to use the 120.061, and there was a second, and is there any more discussion on that?
So the 120.061 is the 52 weeks, and then the 119 number is the 13 and 39.
Both
The
at
the 119.548 is if you use 3%, and the 119.446 is if we use the Budget Committee recommended 2.8%.
Okay.
Kat, I think that for the 1339 split, which I know, or what I believe most departments use, I would be more likely to vote for the 119 if you're looking for 3%, 119,548. So
Yeah,
just still.
that's what I was not choosing the 120 number for the 52-week, 1339 week split. It was more what I'm looking for is the 3%. So yeah, I think if it's easier to compare year over year, like apples to apples, because we've been doing this 1339 week split, then I'll amend my motion. Yeah, because I think with the tax cap and everything else going on, probably then also shifting the way we do budgeting week-wise maybe is a lot. So I'd like to amend my motion to $119,548, please.
I second.
So I have a motion to have the total planning board budget at 119,548, which is basically the 3%. And I have a second from Dan.
So that's $102 different than what we would approve at 2.8% potentially
On this budget,
on this
yes,
budget.
on this budget.
What I really would like to see is if we're going to consider this for all budgets, what that impact would be. Because-
Personally, I'm inclined to advocate for the 3% for all town employees.
Which is what I expect, and yet I don't know what that impact will be.
Yeah.
So then you'll have to be prepared to do that on every budget, right? Because what they're going to submit is going to show 2.8 going forward. And again, some of the departments, in this case, we have one employee that
The
we're
ones
talking
that,
about.
the ones that haven't, the ones that have already been approved, some of them are already been approved by the board, the select board, at the 3.
The large employee departments have not though, right? Police, fire?
No.
Yeah, I'm just saying not all of that.
So
Like,
I'm gonna say, those budgets are gonna come in with 2.8%.
Mhm.
So if you're gonna wanna do this, you're gonna have to calculate those out.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other discussion on that amended motion? I'll take a comment from the public, sure. Paul?
Yeah, so Paul Kleiman, Select Board Chair. My comment is that you could appropriate whatever you want to appropriate, but at the end of the day, it's the Select Board who determines what the, sure, it's the Select Board that determines what the raises will be to the employees and staff, and the determination that was made by the Select Board was that it would be 2.8% at a maximum based on merit. That was the decision. Yeah.
not merit.
Yeah, it was based on whether or not there was merit. It would be 2.8%. That's a maximum. It would be based on merit.
Come back. So the only reason I say no is because I remember I specifically asked Andy, knowing that I was going to have to come here, asking if it was only COLA, no merit, or vice versa, and he said no. It's whatever combination that the department heads want to have. Could be one merit, 1.8 COLA, or but it's not just merit. The important part is this is 2.8%.
Max.
Well, okay. I mean, I suppose we could at least agree on that so I mean, you could appropriate whatever numbers you want, but at the end of the day, the increases to the staff are going to be 2.8%. We may have some, minor difference in terms of recalling, whether that was some combination of merit and COLA or just merit, but those are going to be the increases as determined by the Select Board.
Have you guys discussed your plan B if, let's say, we had mass exodus?
That's what?
Like if a bunch of people just got up and left, what would we do? Like if they feel unappreciated, do we have a plan?
You're going to leave? Is that what you're saying?
No, not me. I'm saying the employees of the town, if they feel unappreciated, do we have a plan B? What are we gonna do as a town?
If people want to leave because they're feeling unappreciated or they don't feel as though they're properly compensated, then the plan would be to hire people who feel appreciated and feel, that they're getting the proper compensation.
No, I'm just curious.
I mean, that's the plan.
Okay.
Better feel appreciated.
So,
No, you don't.
We're
have
not
to feel
being paid,
appreciated.
so.
No, I'm just. Well, I know, but
So how would you
Okay,
Mark,
react
to that?
excuse me, Mark, excuse me,
Right?
Mark. Mr. Kleiman was speaking to the board. If you want to speak, you'll have to wait till he's done, and then I'll recognize you to speak. But it can't just get into a screaming, an argument back and forth in the audience. That's really not good. No, that's okay. And I just want to reiterate back to the fact that, again, what the chair is saying is that if we vote this 119,548, all we're going to be doing is creating whatever that amount was of excess appropriation, that because they're not going to put it into the wages line, it won't go into the
That's not
employees.
necessarily true.
Well, you're hearing
We
from the
don't
select.
know what the Select Board makeup is going to look like in April.
That is a really good point. There
Okay.
are 3 seats that are.
I don't
Again-
think that we should be voting to try to anticipate what the Select Board's gonna do months from now.
And look, I've been the loudest one to say that this budget committee has definitely defined roles and responsibilities that I felt were not being done in the past, and that we were going to do them going forward. But never in my wildest dreams did I think that we would take on determining what a fair wage increase was, or what the fair staffing levels would be, or anything like that. That's not in my, I didn't think it was in my purview to do that. And I never thought that I would be hearing a budget committee say that. But again, you can make a motion, we can vote this, and it's legit, so.
Can I ask a
Um,
question about that? When
sure,
you were
you
saying
can
you
ask a
didn't
question.
anticipate, so if the select board had said that there was gonna be 5% COLA and up to 3% merit, I anticipate that this board would have evaluated whether or not that was the right thing to do.
Correct.
So you're just saying that you don't feel like the board should be examining that in the other direction?
Sure, I agree. Yeah, that's an accurate statement.
Okay.
Especially given the tax cap, absolutely, yeah. But again, so I think, Mark, did you want to make a public comment?
So I had no idea that we'd spend 45 minutes it's on. Yeah, I didn't know we'd spend 45 minutes. As an employee of the town of Brentwood, I find this arduous. If I had $400 in my wallet, I would give it to whoever wanted it at this particular moment. I appreciate your motion. This motion has been on the floor for probably a half hour now. I wish we could just vote on it and kind of get it out of the way. Whatever that outcome may be, just sort of looking for an outcome. And if the select board wants to overrule that, then just let them overrule that. And just let it be. But at this point, I think it's sort of arduous and quite honestly painful for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I don't think it's not just about this one budget. This is a much bigger issue because this committee will be reviewing many budgets, and some of them have a lot more than one employee. And so what we're discussing here is a little bit complicated. So I do think it deserves the time to have a really good discussion on it before we vote. Anybody else in the public have a comment? Chad? You'll have to come to the microphone, though.
My balance is very bad and I fall over periodically. That's kind of embarrassing. For context, I've done HR for 47 years in Fortune 50 companies and one stint off into a startup. Wrote my master's thesis on compensation. Ended up taking care of benefits for the last 34 years for Raytheon Company. And I think you're looking at this from a very narrow point of view. When you look at compensation budgets, you look at it from, first off, can you pay for it? Second off, you want to reward people who are high performers. And companies always struggle with the fact that their leaders come in and say everybody's a high performer. The fact of the matter, that's not true. And as you go through this, I think the overall concern, and I think it was alluded to here, is it said if we went from 2.8 to 3, we'd be at the 4%. And if you do that in every single budget, you're not going to have any money left for anything else. And we've got to get to the point where we recognize that we can't provide all the rewards we want. We can provide certain rewards. And, going back to the unappreciated, there were times, and I think somebody else spoke to it, where I didn't get a raise for 2 years. And I was, quote, a top performer. And it's because the company didn't have the money. And you have a scenario similar to that, there's a 2% or 4% cap, and you've got to stay within that cap. And that's going to take some good management by the right people so that you can still meet your objectives while at the same time meeting over the overall objective of a 4% budget. And you can do that very easily in compensation. Way back when, I was asked to put the first compensation program in at Brentwood. It's when Cross was around, Fayou was around, a bunch of us were around. And we set up salary ranges, we evaluated all the jobs. And it seems to me like they did that again recently. But people should have a salary range, and they should be in that salary range. And if they just got there, they're probably going to be at the bottom of it. If they've been there 20 years and they're high performers, they should be at the top of it. If they're moderate performers, they're going to be in the middle. And you don't always get a raise. You don't always get the cost of living. And that's just reality. And I was glad to hear that the select board said, you know, it's 2.8%. It's not much merit, or it's not COLA. It's just 2.8% is what we're going to use for a reward system. And there should be a reward system that's based on what we call a merit matrix, which you have performance on one axis, and you have where the person is in the other part of the range, and people go into that, and it should give you, and it should level out to the middle at 2.8%. But people, I think, there should be some people who get more than 2.8 and some who get less. And I understand Letty said it's max at 2.8. I would hope there's some flexibility so you could reward the high performers. But it's not going to be a pleasant process. And I think to the gentleman's, to my right's point, you know, we spent a long time doing this, and you only got about 9 more to go. Don't plan on sleeping tonight, I guess.
To that point, I would feel a lot more comfortable if that was the case, and if it was looked at as on average, 2.8 in total, and some people, high performance, were able to get a higher raise, and some people would have a lower raise. But if we're limiting it by person at 2.8, that's where I disagree.
Well, again, that would be the selectmen how they handle that. I'd be happy to help if that would be helpful. But it's your biggest concern, the one I think has to be addressed, is if we use this example, if we go to 3% and that sucks down the whole 4%, I don't know where you end up at the end of this, because I think you're going to end up short. But I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Okay, so no one else in the public? Okay.
Just to note, I mentioned before, at the 2.8, or I'm sorry, the 3%, 13-week split, we're still at the 4%.
That's correct.
Because your entire budget is pretty much one person. There's not a lot of other wiggle room.
And we made adjustments to keep it at that 4%.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to what
Sure.
Chad had said. There is not currently that pay scale like you were talking about, where for any position here, you get fed in and you'll know kind of what the ranges are. My understanding is that police and fire are planning on using something like that starting this year, and hopefully for a couple years, so that we'll be able to look and say, this is what somebody's making. We can apply an increase to the whole table, right? Because you're at this ranker level and this whatever. But there is not currently anything like that for the office employees. I'd be curious to see that one that you had before.
Any other discussion on the amended motion of 119548? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Nay.
So
5.
Nay.
motion passes 4-3. So the budget for planning board is 119548. Thank you. Let's save that. Next is cemetery. I'll pull up the cemetery.
Are you gonna go sit over there? Or
I don't think
Do you have
so.
a hat?
I don't
Do you
think
have
so.
a crypt keeper hat you could put on?
This is much easier. Again, we voted on Thursday for the 2.8. And if you look, our total That brings our total budget to 13,522. If anybody has questions on the cemetery budget, be happy to answer that.
I just,
The spreadsheet you sent in the latest email
Yes.
doesn't seem to be the one that you're showing. Is that
Really?
maybe I'm not looking at the right ones.
oh yeah, the one that is right here just says cemetery.
Cemetery line?
Budcom post. The big one you sent.
Oh, like this afternoon or?
Yeah. 3.
Is it showing 3%? Is that the old
No,
one?
it doesn't have anything filled in.
Really? Sorry.
Yeah, it was like cemetery.
On the summary tab, you mean?
No, Budcom approved is
It's this one.
empty.
This one?
Yeah, if you click cemetery. Is this the one?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, because we haven't approved it yet.
okay.
So all I'm showing is, or all I was showing on the other one is that what we voted at our last meeting, and I filled it in as the select board proposed.
Jim, what will it be at 3%?
Before you do that,
Sure.
it's showing 4.9, but that's because the 2.8 and the 13 and 39.
Correct.
Okay.
If I put it back to 3. It's 13,538, is that right? Yeah,
Hold on. Wait, you just-
exactly.
you-
Because it's only 6 hours a week, so we're
You
not
just-
talking about that much.
You're in two different spreadsheets. Oh, okay.
No, I'm not. I just
Oh,
jumped
okay. You
back.
changed
I
to
just
different-
jumped back to see what the difference was.
Too many.
It's,
Okay.
it's really small.
So then that would be the 13,538? Is that
Correct.
the one that calculates?
Yes.
Okay, I motion that.
So we have a motion for cemetery of 13,538.
Can you just go back to the
Oh,
hourly rate? Yeah, the
Yep,
details. I
details,
just want to write
yep.
down the hourly rates that you have. 32.28. And 33.5.
Good.
Yes.
I would like to second Alina's motion.
So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
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 So 4-3 passes again. So that's 13,538 for the cemetery budget.
But that one had already been in front of the select board with the 3.
No.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I'm
That
trying to
is-
figure
that
out
is
which
correct.
ones the select board has to go back.
That is correct. What's that? No, what she asked the question was, is when I presented to the select board at the, when I present, correct, correct.
No, at the 3.
So if you look now.
I'm trying to
look-
fi- I'm
Yes,
trying to
you're,
make a list
you
of
are
ones we
absolutely
have to
correct.
reopen.
No, you don't have to go back on this one, Linda,
Okay.
because if you look at the screen right now, the select board proposed and what we just approved are exactly the same because it was a 3. Because when I presented to
Because
the
it was,
select
because that
board, it
just
was
happened,
3.
that just
I
happened last week.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
I did.
Okay. I'm going to ask that we take welfare next so that I'll have a home to go back to afterward.
You're always welcome.
Yeah, I know. Uh, What's that? Yes, I am.
I live budget at home. I don't need to be here for it.
You could get your own personal recap.
Lady, I'm on my big fancy paper.
So I have it up on the screen, the welfare budget, the total is 21,124. That was with the, I believe, a 4% increase over last year's $2,700.
4%?
Salaries. Excuse me, 3%.
Why is the percent? Did you not do the,
I
Thir-
didn't touch this one.
no,
This
the
was-
1339?
What?
It shouldn't be 3% if it was the 1339 week right thing.
This isn't a stipend. This is a stipend. There is no 1339. It's a stipend.
Oh, okay.
It's,
So it's not, so it starts January 1st?
I was told
Paid
it
out
was a,
quarterly, it's an annual stipend paid out quarterly. That was my understanding.
It's not that I think you did anything wrong.
No.
I'm just trying to understand, wouldn't the first payment be
It's
at
a no.
last year's rate?
My understanding is it's a quarterly, so I mean, it's a total stipend,
Mhm.
and that's divided by 4. It's not. It's not a quarterly salary.
It's an annual number
Yeah.
that we then,
kind of like the contract that we just had for on the planning board for the town planner. It's just, the increase that was in there was a whole, it's not split out into weeks. It's a contractual, just a yearly amount.
I
so.
don't hate it. I'm just trying to
No.
understand why this one was
Yeah, It
different.
was just a yearly stipend.
Okay,
And that's why the percent is exactly 3%.
okay.
And that 2781, if it was at 2.8, would be 2776. But
So the total is 21,124.
correct. $3%.
$81 plus $8. Why is FICA going up by more than? Why is the FICA Medicare going up by more than that? Is that right?
From 207 to 213, it's just the percent. I mean,
No, I know, but it's going up by more percent. Maybe it's right. Never mind.
I will make a motion for 21,124.
I'll second.
so I have a motion and a second for the welfare budget of 21,124. Any discussion?
The community assistance line, that's the regional associations. Do you have any idea of what the ask is for that yet?
Yep, I do. So we have received 7 asks, and it's, right now, it's over 18,000. And like I told the select board, so I'm not sure if you all know how welfare is funded in New Hampshire. It's required by law, and towns provide their welfare. So we either required to give direct assistance, or we supplement it through funding nonprofits who support our people, which is actually less expensive for us. So that's what the regional association is funding nonprofits who support our people. And then the rest of the money is the direct assistance is for people who come in who have direct need and qualify under the law.
Do you think that's going to be enough?
I have no idea. I have no records from the past, and I have no idea. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what our budget number is because we have to fund it. So
Well, that's a good reason to make sure that there's.
but you can fund me like 10,000, and if I have to spend 15, I'm going to spend 15. I have to spend 15. So, but I have no way of knowing. I don't have any records of what was spent in the last any past years. I have no records.
So just to clarify, she doesn't have records of other asks. Obviously, we have records of the regional associations and what has been asked and provided there,
I guess what
but
I'm
not other
saying-
records of
Individual
other
direct
asks.
asks.
I guess what I'm saying is that if the asks of the regional associations have gone up by that much this year,
It's because the So this is in line with what we've had in the past. Last year it was significantly lower because we found that several of our nonprofits were overfunded because of ARPA, but we knew that would be going away. And when we told the select board last year that they could reduce it by $5,000, it was because it was for that year. But we knew it would be coming up again, and it's coming exactly on par where it was. Total requests in 2024 was 17,357. So it's gone up from there just about $1,000. So this is, I'm confident in the regional association number. 15,000 is a little bit low, but I think we can work it with it for this year. I think it has to come back up next year.
I guess I'm wondering specifically about the direct assistance line.
I have no reason to know whether we need more, but I don't know what to tell you. Unless you have records, I mean, you must have budget records from past years of what was
I
spent
see
in that
I
line.
see one that says 2636.
I can't read that from here.
Okay.
It says last year's actual was
Yeah.
2630.
Then I would suspect that's the same, because individuals wouldn't have been getting ARPA money. So it has nothing to do with the regional association difference.
Okay.
So again, I believe we have a motion and a second for the 21,124. Any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay?
Thank
I'm in favor.
So I think this one is
Aye.
5-2. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Next is code enforcement.
All of this.
Welfare is okay.
Yes,
I know it doesn't.
same number.
I know it really doesn't matter, but
Same
I
number.
I know they're gonna ask.
So on code enforcement, just to be clear, if you look at the employee details, you'll see that there's a 3% raise that goes into effect on 3/22 and another 3% raise that goes into effect on September 22nd. These were the numbers that I was informed by the building inspector, and he can comment on that, but these were the numbers that I was given, and this ties into what was approved by the select board. They're slightly off, I'm not sure why. The numbers that are showing up in this approved column, I know they're not approved, but I wanted to show when I calculated it out based on the information he gave me, these were the numbers that came up. Again, they're pretty close.
Can you go back to the detail
Sure.
page? I just want to write
Yes.
those numbers down.
So I don't know if somebody, like maybe in calculating the days, somebody did something just a little bit different. They're really close, but
Maybe if you, maybe if you're doing it off an hourly rate instead of or something like that, right?
again, if you look, right, it's just kind of, it's just taking, because how do you figure it out? I mean, these raises are going to affect on certain dates. So I figured out how many days these different salary rates would be in place.
Can you remind me why there are two salary raises?
I think you'd have to ask the building inspector. I don't.
Oh, press the big.
There we go. Like it said on the sheet that I had passed on to you through email, salary includes 3% increase twice, and it's part of it. It was as negotiated when I was hired.
Who negotiated that?
The selectman,
As a board?
I'm assuming so, yeah.
Well, I do know that the select board proposed and sent to us, the salary line shows 77267 with a total budget of 107,931. I mean, the select board, that is definitely approved by the select board, Michelle. And like I said, if I put his numbers in that he gave me, it's almost exact. It's pretty close. I mean, instead of 107,931, I'm at 108,090. It's pretty close.
Those increases were on 322 and 922?
Yes. And both of them say 3%.
I'm a little startled by 3% increases in the 1 year. I only have one select person to ask here about that getting approved or whatever, or
What's the question that you're asking me?
how that was negotiated.
I wasn't there for the negotiation.
What's your last name, Chuck?
Marsden?
Mar?
Marsden, M-A-R-S-D-E-N.
Thank you.
I mean, and to be fair, what was your first day when you hired? Chuck?
Guessing the 22nd of some month.
September 22nd.
September, right? So it's pretty recent. So I mean, it's kind of a little different in that, like, normally we have someone who's been an employee and we're going to look at, right, 13 to 1339. We kind of don't have that in this case, right? Because
We're looking at 17 and then another 26.
right. That's what I mean.
And then another. Hold on, let me see. 14 weeks. Is that right?
Is that the right number?
Seeing
yeah.
that this is contractual on a.
It's not contractual. There's no
It was just
contract.
a verbal.
I have not seen a contract.
Do you have an employment contract? And this is what you've been asked to put in there. So it is contractual. Verbal is contract as well.
And I'll also just add, I know we're talking about salary, but I also wanted to know that the building inspector and I discussed, there's 2 lines in here that were not funded by the select board. The driveway fees and the test pit fees. And I know comments had come up at a select board meeting several months ago about driveway fees and possibly not being.
Came up at the planning board last week as well.
Okay, so in talking to the building inspector, he felt that we should put and I agreed with this, that we should put $1 in each one of those lines until he can come up with what he, before, because we have until, we could reopen this budget. If he comes back and says, oh, I need more money in that driveway fees, we could reopen this budget and look
Hold
at
on,
that. But I wanted to make sure we had at least a line in there.
Hold on.
Yep,
Did this go in front of the select board?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. So
I
what I'm gonna
I think I sent a note to the chair saying that we were going to put $1 on each one of these lines, just
Okay.
because the discussion I had with him.
Explain to me, Chuck, and sorry, just because this is the first time I'm hearing about it, why are you putting money in the operating budget for these things?
I don't know. I would suggest that we fill that in when we talked.
Yeah.
The way I understood was the driveway permit fee was an issue because it wasn't enough to pay the engineer.
Okay.
And that's what I've been talking to Mark about on how to correct that. I think this was just a precaution.
But wouldn't that be in the fee structure?
Yes,
So why is it in your operating budget?
it was a suggestion.
So
I'm
that,
confused.
so you're saying that you didn't have enough to cover them, so you're putting money in the budget to cover them because
It's
you
not
didn't
that
have
we-
enough?
I'm not even sure that money has to be put in the budget.
Okay.
It was a suggestion
Okay.
to have a placeholder in case that has to happen.
So
I
if
don't think
you
that
have
has
to
to happen. I think that'll be taken care of in the permit fee, the driveway permit fee.
Yeah, I guess I'm just confused.
But I believe the discussion at the time, what I heard was that, and don't quote me, but I thought the fees were $70 or $75 or something like that. And that
So
if
last
we have to
week-
have an engineer go out, it won't cover that.
Absolutely, but last week the select board approved an entire list of fees, including the driveway fee.
Hmm.
None of that is represented in the operating budget.
Right. Like, oh, yeah, no. And just so you know, the only reason why I recommended putting $1 was because if there's 0, I don't believe we can appropriate. You can't, the select board's not allowed to move dollars into a line. And they can't move an appropriate
All I'm
if
saying
it's
is
0.
I don't know what we need that line for.
It would
Like, we
be,
currently,
it would only be that if the fees collected didn't cover the cost of the inspections.
but they currently don't, and there isn't that line. So I guess that's, I'm just trying to figure,
So then
maybe
where-
instead of
where-
calling it driveway fees, do you want to call it driveway inspections?
The only reason why it says drive is because that's what was in the budget. There were two, both of those lines were in the budget, but they had zeros. They had zeros. So all I did is I recommended to the building inspector that we put $1 in there just so that if we needed to have money to pay an engineer to go out to do either one of those inspections. And he was honest, he goes, look, I don't know. And I said, well, if we put $1 and if you don't need anything, then it's fine. But if you do need something, you need to have something there or we cannot, the select board won't be able to move money to a zero line.
Yes, however, I think driveway fees is maybe what I'm getting hung up on, because a fee is something that we collect from an applicant.
Yes, that was confusing to me also.
Yeah, no,
So-
I'm just,
But he's saying
it
those
was
were the
there.
lines
I didn't
that-
make
I
this
hear
up.
you.
Those
I hear
accounts,
you.
those
I
accounts are
hear,
there.
we can change the name on those lines all day long.
Go ahead.
So I'm happy to leave, I think leaving the dollar makes sense if you think they're gonna use the line for something, but I wanna make it clear that it's money going out.
Right.
Not money coming in.
Correct.
Letty,
Well, these are all appropriations. It
Right.
has to be
So-
an expenditure.
verbiage
But and
doesn't make
maybe I can use electrical and plumbing inspections as an example. We appropriate money, the town pays those inspectors, however, we collect fees from applicants that cover those. It's just not represented here.
Yeah.
Because
I-
it's only the one.
Letty, where does the excess inspection costs for driveways go now? Where do they get expensed?
Nowhere. They just collect the $100. And then
No, but you said they currently don't cover
Correct.
the actual inspection costs.
The system is flawed and we're working on it.
I'm just concerned that that cost isn't represented in the budget anyway.
I think what it is that because we were not paying enough for the engineer to go out and inspect those driveways, they were not maybe inspecting them as often or as rigorously as they should have been,
Okay.
hypothetically. I don't think that would be helpful.
No, I just.
It's a long explanation.
I was just wanting to know in regards to the operating budget. I think that if it's being currently worked on and new processes are being in place, I would agree to change the language to driveway inspections and test pit inspections. I forget the process for that.
I think we just asked Julie. I'm gonna send you an email soon.
Thank you.
Because I think that's why I was getting stuck, was because in my mind, fees are money coming in.
True. Absolutely.
And I couldn't wrap my head around fees. Because the way that this should work, correct me if I'm wrong, Chuck, the way that this should work is whatever we expend out of the inspections line, we should be getting in that approximately same amount of money from the applicants.
And we're still, Mark and I are working on the number that will work for driveway inspections.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
So this is one of the few budgets where we actually make money that covers most of this. We have to have an appropriation because we are spending money, but there is an offsetting revenue that just isn't seen here.
Why isn't it a revolving fund?
I don't have an answer to that. It could be an RSA or something,
Okay,
because it's,
just curious.
there are a lot of ordinances and RSAs around building in general, so that might fall under that. I'm not sure.
Thanks.
So I did change it to inspections, Letty, but obviously this is just a sheet, means nothing.
No,
I'll have to, Julie can probably change that in the system.
I'm asking her right now.
Should we motion to vote?
Go ahead.
Make a motion to vote on code enforcement budget.
For the
For the budget committee proposed.
So the 108090.
Mhm.
So there's a motion for code enforcement, will be 108090.
Just remind me, what's the makeup of that?
Uh,
It's on the other tab there.
Okay, so basically it's what and now we heard that the select board has requested a contract to be written with these details for the building inspector. I cannot explain why the original numbers that the select board had was slightly off. I trust my numbers here, and I mean, I'm sure Letty can verify this, but
I'm trying to check some numbers right
Okay.
now too.
Do you need
we're
more
a
time?
little bit higher. I don't think there's a problem of going with our number on this one. It's
Letty,
just
do you
my-
need more time before we vote?
No. I mean, I just, so
You see
personally,
it, it's $159, right?
personally,
Yeah,
I'm
we-
going to vote no on this for the same reason I voted no on it at the select board. I think it is not great practice to do things off of handshake deals. I think things should be in writing, especially because, as you said a bunch of times, next March, there could be a whole different select board that feels differently. So, and again, it's not about you. Just, I think everything should be in writing.
And I think that's why they've requested that a contract be written so that this poor, when we finally have a really good building inspector, and I'm really happy
I think
he's
he's
here,
great.
And
It's not
I-
about him.
Which is why, again, so I think there was a motion, and
Yeah.
do we have a second, or?
I mean, it does feel like we should only approve 3% or 2 point whatever, and then wait until the select
and-
board signs a contract.
I just wanted to be clear that I was going to vote no, and it had nothing to do with
Okay,
I know.
90, like it has,
okay. But I think right now, we have a motion, but I
I
don't
do.
think we've had a second yet, do we?
Okay, if we're not ready.
yes, you're allowed to second.
Then I'll second the motion that Gabby has. Any discussion, further discussion on the 108090? If not, all in favor?
I mean,
Aye.
I'm
Oh,
also
ooh.
kind of just interested to hear from somebody who's on the select board and involved in the, like, what's the deal with the raise structure and what are the final numbers on that?
But
Just
you have that.
we
That's what's
have-
showing up.
So Jim, if any other employee came to you and said, this is the raise I'm getting next year, would you be okay with that?
I would verify it, absolutely, and I did verify this. These numbers that are here is what the select board told him when he got hired. And I think that's why the select
One
board number
member
that
of
they
the
gave
select-
us
That's a question.
almost matches identically. If you gave me something wrong, the number that the select board that you voted and approved is
Select
7.
board didn't, this,
Well, the select board voted for the 77267 on that line. I mean, the total that they sent to us was 107931.
So, yes,
What am I missing?
so whether the select board voted any sort of agreement with Chuck or not, they've now voted for this budget. So. I know where you're
I think I disagree with the way that select board has done this, but I
Okay.
don't think it's Chuck's fault, the way that it was done.
I-
And if it was
and that's why I've
communicated that
said
way
all,
with an
that's why I've said the
employee-
whole time that it's
No, no,
not
I
about
understand.
Chuck.
It just,
Not at all.
but it is in a way, right? Like,
Well,
it's
no,
not
it's
his
not.
fault. That
So
it
if
was
I went
done.
out and made a deal with somebody,
Stop. I think we had a motion and
Well,
a
if you have an
second. We can
employment
just, and
contract, then
Well, I
it's
mean, we
your
had a long
contract.
discussion after my
can,
motion.
can you,
No, no,
can you just go back to employee details? Because I'm getting a different number. I'm trying to figure out why. So you're doing it down to the day. Okay. But it shouldn't be, I'm getting a different number. I'm trying to figure out why. It doesn't matter.
A different number on the salary amounts, Letty, or the total wages?
The total.
So these numbers you got correct? Did you verify
No, because
those?
I broke it down by hourly, because so like, in the payroll system, they have to put an hourly rate and then 40 hours a week. So I figured out what the hourly rate for the 75,000 was. I'm just telling you my number.
Yeah,
And I'm
yep.
trying to figure out if it's like a rounding error or I'm just,
Oh, and it could be like weekends.
yes. Yes. I'm just trying to, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna write this down and I'll figure it out. I'm figuring out what the difference is offline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Is there anything in the contract that the select board asks you to write up that goes beyond these dates, like beyond September 22nd, 2026? Yes. So is it phrased as an annual thing after that, or is it just like TBD in the future after the first, after? Okay, just wanted to clarify.
No.
Okay, so okay, so I don't have to wait, do we? Again, I believe there was a motion and a second. And if there's no further discussion, we can vote on the motion of the 108090 for code enforcement. All in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone oppose?
Nay, sorry.
So I think there were 5-2. So the BudCom approved budget is 108090. Thank you, Mr. Building Inspector.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that one
Put this into the
will need
total.
to go in front of the select board, but for a weird reason. Is that accurate? Okay. For a possible math error somewhere, okay.
Given it is 7:30, and we would, I think we should take the finance and town administrator, since the town administrator is here, and if we, because I think we all would like to stop at 8 o'clock, but she's here, and why don't we do those, and we could always come back,
Yep.
or, I mean,
Yeah.
let's just do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So let's start with town administrator. So what I sent you all, basically, there's the assistant to the TA with the details. And there was no increase there. The town administrator, no salary increase there as well. So if you look at the total tab, just adds up these wages and then it places it onto the front tab. And the numbers, so if the numbers that my sheets have are identical to what the select board proposed is because there's no wage increase.
Can you pull up the finance budget next to this one? Just because the admin assistant to the TA, I know somebody asked, it looks like it's a brand new position. It's not. It's just a renaming of the current position. Moving it over to be assistant to the TA as opposed to whatever this bookkeeper line is. Thank you. So we're not creating a new position. I just wanted to be clear. We're moving it.
Why is,
We are creating a, well, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
why is there 11,000 still left in the bookkeeper?
Because we are creating a new position there for a part-time bookkeeper. But the full-time
That
person,
clarity, yeah, yeah.
would you say that that's accurate? The full-time person is still staying the full-time person, just switching job titles. The board,
Yeah,
there was a long discussion about that person not having an increase this year because the board felt that they received an increase last year. So that's why there's no increase. That is intentional. And then Julie was only hired kind of recently, and so she's not getting an increase either. Although you did get a pretty good one when you got promoted. Promoted? Punished?
Dishonored.
Please don't run away.
So again, the select board proposed budget is 197,608. And obviously the numbers on the salaries lines are exactly correct to what I had. And the FICA and Medicare, these numbers are all exactly what I would have calculated.
I have a question, and this is kind of the finance town administrator. It's looking like the admin assistant, which, so last year that line was in finance as bookkeeper clerk. That actually looks like then that she's getting $2,000 less. Can you speak to that? Or I guess, oh no, that was last year actual versus appropriate. Okay, never mind. I think I misread this. Okay, never mind.
Well, never mind.
She is.
So it's probably overtime.
Yeah.
And given that there's no one.
Yeah, no, I realized that I was just looking at the actual number and not the 2025 appropriation number, which is probably more accurately what I should be looking at.
Amy. Good for you for looking at numbers.
And obviously the increase in FICA and New Hampshire retirement, that's because we did not have
Correct.
one. Just clarification. I know it's obvious to some.
Because
We will
we
hear that.
moved the assistant role to this budget.
Well, it's that.
And also the town
And
administrator
also
was
the-
not,
right.
there were times we weren't paying one, so.
But that wouldn't account for the increase though. Because we
Oh.
budgeted,
Okay, you're calculating
Never
off
mind.
the budget.
yeah,
Never mind. Okay.
because I think, yeah, because we had budgeted for, last year we had budgeted for 100,000.
Okay.
So that part hasn't changed.
Second.
So I have a motion for 197,608 and a second. Motion was Michelle, second. Alina, I believe was you. Alina, any discussion on this? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None? Unanimous. So the
Town admin-
Budget Committee approved budget for Town Administrator is 197,608. Make sure I get this. Copy, put this in the. Town Administrator,
All right, so finance.
paste. Oop. Ooh, what did I do?
You have more spreadsheets open than I do.
That's okay. It's not the
Is it?
spreadsheet's open.
Is it? There's a lot going on.
I do have lots open. Next would be finance.
Okay, on the treasurer currently gets 32,000 annually, and we're proposing that stays the same, but we should have a deputy treasurer And the 2,400 difference is what that is for. And that would just be coming in basically once a month, just to keep refreshed, and will be available to cover if the treasurer's ever out.
So treasurer would be
32.
32, and the deputy is 2,400.
How many hours, do you know? Could we, that is currently a stipend, right?
What's that?
The treasurer position is currently just
salary.
like a weekly or pay
Salary.
period.
Annual salary is, I believe, how it was set up originally.
Is it paid, it's paid weekly?
It's paid weekly, yes.
Okay.
The bookkeeper is to relieve Jillian of the accounts payable and payroll duties, and that is 8 to 10 hours a week, and it was budgeted at $25 a week.
$25.
I mean, $25 an hour.
So $25 an hour for how many hours?
8 to 10 roughly.
Did you budget for 8 or 10?
Well, the select board approved 70,000, so I kind of had to play with that
Okay.
figure to make it fit into the budget.
This is the bookkeeper line you're talking about? This is-
Yes.
Yeah. I wasn't sure because I had a current rate of 21, and when it was done with a 3% increase, the only way I got it to work to what you had was like 9.85 hours a week or something like that.
And-
I mean, it's just, but I get what you're doing. I mean, right.
The person that we've hired is coming in less than the 25, but
Okay.
if that,
Ish. So it's very squishy. How much are we gonna pay the deputy treasurer?
I figured it on $25 an hour for 8 hours, I believe.
Okay.
Does that work out right?
We'll find out.
Times 12?
And that's once a month.
Yeah, just coming in once a month.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly 2,400, correct.
Julie, do you feel like this, with the bookkeeping duties being separated, having a deputy treasurer, I see a finance director was requested, but that wasn't approved. Do you feel,
Well, I was originally hired as finance director, so
Right.
I was in there for a while, but that will still
Switch.
be part of my duties as town administrator, but part of me doing that was so I could focus more on finance, was to have Jillian, to have a full-time assistant so that I could concentrate more on the financials.
do you feel like in this setup, as approved by the select board, the treasurer, deputy treasurer, and a bookkeeper, that there will be adequate segregation of duties and
Yes.
the prior issues with reconciliations? Do you feel like you have adequate staff and hours and support to?
Yes, as proposed budget for 26, yes.
Okay.
Is the deputy position an hourly one or just another stipend?
I would say hourly, but we could,
I'm wondering if it might be beneficial to switch both of those positions to hourly so that we can have a better idea of how much time those people are actually spending.
it's a good
Oh.
conversation to be had,
Well, yeah,
100%.
and
Then the hypothetical deputy, like, so I think the only other one that we have that's like this is the welfare director, and that feels like a different level of not that it's not important, it is very important, but like, I guess I wonder where the oversight is, especially in the last year or two. just having a set, like, none of us are guaranteed another day. So having an idea of how much we actually need a treasurer and deputy treasurer, I know was shocking to me last fall when we suddenly had neither, and not really understanding like what the actual hourly commitment was gonna be. I think it would be maybe better to switch it to hourly, unless there's a reason not to. Because I'm guessing there's probably times of year when they're busier.
Absolutely. When the audit is ongoing, it would be helpful.
So they might be here for more hours, and then in quieter times, they'd be here for less. And so it probably averages out to that, but I don't know.
And it's my understanding, it was originally thought that he would be helping with reconciliations for 2024, which did not happen. 2025 is getting reconciled.
Letty, I mean, I don't want to, if you're done. Because, I mean, I think I sent some of this, my concerns to you on this. If this is an 8-hour a week, in general, an 8-hour a week job, at $32,000, that's $76.92 an hour, okay? And I had Letty help me, she gave me the appropriation history for the treasury lines, right? And why don't I just put it up so I can share it with everybody? See how this works. Does it? Okay. So basically what this is showing is the history of that line, that's salary for the treasurer, right? Going back to 2020. And then the next line just shows a % increase and then an hourly rate based on 8 hours per week, 52 weeks a year, right? So in between 2024 and 2025, there was a huge 174% increase. And I do believe you touched on this. I thought at the time, this was when there was concerns over, well, what do we need a finance director? What does the town administrator do or don't do? I was not on budget committee. I wasn't on select board. But I recall, and maybe Letty, you can help. I think you were here. I thought there was some discussion of having this role expand into doing some of these things. But anyways, what I did, so this just shows like that right now, right? I know it says $83 an hour there, but that's incorrect because I didn't realize that there was that 34.4 included a deputy. But if you look at the previous year, the 32,000, it is basically $76.92 an hour.
Where did you get the 8 hours?
I was told that it's an 8-hour, he's here 1 day a week, he works 8 hours a week. That the treasurer position was 1 day a week.
So it
8
was,
hours.
and only because you had just asked me about this. So I think when we originally hired him about a year ago, the thought was that there was going to be some expanded responsibilities, so it was going to be more than 8 hours a week.
But I don't, again, may have been, but I don't believe that's happening. I don't think that's happening today.
And
So
thus is the challenge of a stipend versus some other system. Because
So-
it's possible that
Okay.
all spring he was here 3 days a week and we just don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know, that's my point.
But I'm just saying, going forward, we have a town administrator. We have, and I'll let the town administrator answer, because when I looked at towns like Brentwood in New Hampshire, the typical benchmarks that I was seeing was an 8-hour a week position. And if you look, they're talking about $33.45 an hour from the NHGFOA, right? It's a position of the town. It's definitely a part-time position. But if you look, the estimated compensations that I was seeing was like way under where we were at. And they're talking about 8 hours a week, $33.45 an hour. We're talking, that's $13,900 a year. And when it was looking, so this was saying you'd be paying somewhere between $12,000 and $16,000, depending, right, on the complexity and the duties of the position. And I even went further, looking deeper into it. of trying to grab, and I'll share at the end, there were like 10 different towns. So it kind of was talking about, well, if you expect the treasurer to perform full monthly reconciliations, I don't believe going forward, would he be doing full monthly reconciliations, or is that part of?
He's reconciling now he doesn't reconcile to BMSI, which is our software, which
Yep.
I don't want him to do, but he is reconciling the bank account.
But going forward to next year, would that be the role of the treasurer to do that, or is?
Somebody has to make sure that the money in the bank.
No, I'm not, I know about the
To
money in the bank.
reconcile
I'm-
the bank account, but I
know the
would
bank
not,
accounts, the bank account's fine. I'm talking about the.
to the software, no, that's
Okay.
for segregation of duties purposes.
So I think the treasurer's role in Brentwood would be similar to all these other towns. We don't have something different in Brentwood, do we? From treasurer's perspective? So like they're talking about an annual stipend or a compensation of $10,000 to $16,000 an hour, which again is $24 to $38 an hour. And if if it's more than just the custodial high-level oversight, they're talking about $1,500 to $4,000 stipend, right, a lot lower. And it came back saying, hey, a practical compromise is somewhere between $25 and $35 an hour. You baseline it 8 hours a week, but obviously if there's times of the year when it's more, you get that approved by the select board and they pay more, just so that it's transparent and, so, and then there were a bunch of towns, so you can kind of just scan down. I'll just say this, like I just feel that the line at the $32,000 is just way out of alignment with what other communities are paying. And I got to be honest, at the select board, I was here when this was discussed. And I believe the chair accurately stated, he was like, this is 8 hours a week. If we normalized this to a full-time employee, this would be by far the highest paid employee in town. And it's like, yeah, no kidding. But again, that's just because not many of our employees are getting $76 an hour or whatever. Yeah, almost $77 an hour. So I really felt that this line needed to be adjusted, to be
Is
corrected.
that Chester, New Hampshire, or Chester, Massachusetts?
New Hampshire.
Okay, it says New Hampshire over there, but it's
Yeah,
Massachusetts.
that's-
I just wanted to
again-
confirm, because that's a little bit bigger than we are, but the
Right.
closest population-wise.
Right. And so, can I jump back to I'll just go back to this for a second. And I'll put it back later. I'll just send this to you actually. But I kind of just looked at, well, what would have happened if we just went with the COLA because it looked like we were kind of going along fine until somewhere in like I said, between 2024 and 2025,
Correct.
this thing just jumped way out of it. So
So-
if we kind of just reset ourselves back to the kind of where we were, that's what that line that says COLA increase, right? So somewhere for 2026, the 13,257, which again, if you look at what AI and what the benchmarks coming back, it's almost kind of in that line. That's like $32 an hour, which is kind of almost exactly what these benchmarks are talking
Can you go
about.
back to the chart that you were at before?
Sure, this one?
And can I just
Oh,
make a comment?
absolutely.
I wasn't here, obviously, when all of this happened, so I did a little research, and it appears that the position was supposed to be plus or minus 12 hours per week, which I would say is probably more in line with what this position would require for hours if everything is getting done that should be done. So I wouldn't base it on 8 hours, I would base it more on 12 hours. My second comment is that it is very difficult, I know, to find people who are interested in the treasurer position. If you're going to put out that kind of money, you'd probably get a lot more people who would be interested in that position. But
But again, I'm just going by.
Oh, no.
So is it that
100%.
all the other municipalities in New
Yeah.
Hampshire don't have treasurers or have a hard time? Because again, I don't know the history in Brentwood.
Yeah, I know we've had a hard time in the past finding treasurer. I was treasurer years ago for the town of Brentwood. And if I
Yeah, when they
didn't need
posted
that,
the
I
job,
probably
I
never would've
applied,
left.
to be honest with you, I did.
I think it's important to recognize that during the time of turmoil, though, and
Right.
I totally agree with going hourly right now, and I agree with averaging it too, and all of that. But let's just make it clear that during the time of turmoil, if we were to account for the hours this individual was here, then there's no way it was $76 because we had no one.
Totally
And I
agree
know
with you.
that there were a couple of times when I was here quite late, just happened to be, and he was working really hard.
I totally agree. But again, I can only go by I think we're past the turmoil, and I'm not sure why the select board did not address
That
it.
was my next question, because the next question is about the system and what's the plan of transitioning the system? And I know that I've just done a couple of transitions for really small companies and projects, and it takes quite a bit. So let's maybe hear about that before we go any further with that.
The transition of our software or well, we have started our training on it in hopes it should be in place by the end of the year and it should simplify things.
So are you all caught up though with historical financial statements? Like, where are you with that mess that is there? Because like there's has to be some, right, we have to
Still-
clean it up.
It still needs to be cleaned up.
And there's the
So-
2024, and then how are we doing on 25?
Right, 25, I just recently got the reconciliation for 2024 so that I can move forward with 2025.
And when you say reconciliation, that's cash reconciliation, right? Or did you actually guys done some internal review of how things were?
Well, the CPA that was
allocated?
hired did the reconciliations through 2024. The auditors are still working. They are returning next week, and hopefully now we'll finish next Thursday.
Okay.
So we will know what they're finding.
The board did approve last week to move forward with an estimated number so that we can set the tax rate
Right,
for
so
next
all
year.
the,
So we're not waiting on the final.
right,
final
all
numbers.
the DRA has all of the information it needs in order to move forward with setting the tax rate. So at least that's not being held up at this point.
And then that's, the 2024 is still in the old system, correct?
As is all of 25.
As is old
To date.
25. So once, I'm just trying
No,
to
sure.
understand. So once 2024 is blessed by the auditors, that's when you will import those beginning balances? Or will you?
I've
Or is it
started
going to be 26? with the
moving
new
forward
system?
in 2025 to start reconciling. And I obviously will double check with the ending balance that the auditors come up with, but I'm moving forward from what the CPA used as the ending balance. If there's an adjustment, I would just make it on my, change my beginning balance based on that, but.
So 2025 has been imported into the new system?
Well-
Nothing has been imported into the new
Okay,
system.
I'm just trying to understand when and how and
Oh,
what-
yeah.
for what period of time will that be done? I guess that's what I'm saying.
All
I'm
of
sorry
the
if it's-
periods of time.
So you're going to be importing everything?
I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully, because that's all of our
They've pretty much
historical data.
already done that,
Yeah.
but we're not live on the new system yet until until the training is all finished.
Okay, so I guess the next question is, what, if any, what additional help, if any, you are expecting or needing from the treasurer?
As far as that, I mean, one of the reasons I say the 12 hours are needed is that I do need information from him in reconciling 2025. So that's where the additional hours would come in for that position for right now, and probably carrying forward to some extent, maybe not 12 hours every week, but like we said before, there will times of the year where that position would require more hours and times of the year when it would be less.
I think one of the challenges with this particular position, and I know it was for me because, I've been asked if I was interested, quite frankly. But the challenge is that, yes, there are not that many hours, but there's a huge responsibility and liability that goes with that. So, I definitely see how 32,000 perhaps as a stipend is a bit challenging in the way that we've structured that, but hourly, to me, personally. 33, for example, sounds low for that level of liability.
So, and Jim, you might be able to do this. Nope. Oh, that was you, not me. Or who was that?
I think
Is that
so.
me?
It's that.
Well, the TV is just turned off because they think no one's using it. If we were to do, what did you say?
Well,
So 12.
So, and I was just gonna, just for a time check, it's now 8 o'clock.
I know.
We can go through this. I don't know if we want to continue to try to get to the end of this, or do we want to just
I mean,
table
I don't
this?
want to start over another time.
no.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think let's finish.
Okay.
So if we
Yep.
take the 32 and divide it, 32,000,
Yep.
like if we take what is currently budgeted and divide it by 12 hours a week, what's the hourly rate on that?
Oh, I did this. It was just over $50.
Yeah.
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 5160. I have to agree. Also being
5128.
inquired about for this position as a CPA with
We
a
were
master,
desperate
as a
last fall.
CPA with a master's in accounting, to do this work. I do think there's a premium, and also the person that we've hired is a tax firm owner, very busy. He also, I'm sure, comes at a premium. So
Yes.
I don't believe that we have wiggle room in the position that we're in, for what we need and for the experience we require.
Yes, I would say the $51 is more in line with the position than the 76, close to 77.
Okay.
As long as based on 12 hours per week.
So then
It's
if you-
still $20 more an hour than the benchmark for New Hampshire treasurers, but.
Yeah, I think
it is-
that's
and again,
probably
Brentwood
dependent on,
is so much different than all these other municipalities.
right.
Well,
I think that's dependent on whether you hire a CPA or not.
Are those,
Yeah.
I don't remember.
And also,
Are those
and-
around here? Where are those located in the state?
Chester was.
Plastow, Chester, Atkinson,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Derry.
But also the experience needed in terms of cleaning up what was going
right,
on at the time is a different level of experience than kind of just keeping a smooth ship sailing.
Well, I think that it's even with a smooth ship sailing, there's a liability. And I think if we look at those towns, it would be interesting to me to understand then, do they have more senior, like more of a department, a finance department? Because if, let's say, we had, a town administrator, finance director, accountant, and then,
And then there's
a
the
treasurer, right? Then that treasurer really does like a very minor, like the hours, and
agree.
even though it would say that it's averages 8 hours, it's not gonna be 8 hours. And in fact, like I knew someone who was a treasurer in the town, not in the area, and it was like one evening and maybe like 2-3 hours a week, so it's not, and again, like if you have a bigger department, then the expectations gonna be a little less. The way that we are structured, and that's why I was asking, not only about the system, but the way we're structured, I think that it's gonna be hard to find someone for 12 hours for less than that, with that level of experience. Now, if we change the structure of a finance department, then sure.
I'm just curious, I don't think we received a job description for this role, at least
No, I looked through Andrea's
couldn't find one.
files and I couldn't find one,
And
We
I mean, when I
posted it.
looked,
Hold
I
on, I
didn't
might be
see
able
a
to-
lot of them were CPAs. Your experience been that these treasurers have to be CPAs?
but no.
Like, I wouldn't think you'd want a CPA because you'd be overpaying. I don't believe it requires a CPA to do it.
No, it's not required.
So that's what I'm saying. So I don't know why you would want to fund a position to have a CPA there. And again, if someone thinks that the reason why we have these issues here is because of the treasurer role, I've never heard that it was the treasurer position at all, wasn't the treasurer's position.
No, but I would agree that if we did have finance director as a separate position, that the role of the treasurer would be greatly reduced, but without a finance director,
Mhm.
you know, I believe that you would definitely want to.
Which is why I think you'd want 12 hours a week instead of 8, right? But I'm still saying, like, the difference between paying someone, what these benchmarks are saying, like $33 an hour, something like that, versus someone who's getting 50, almost $60 an hour. It's just a big difference.
So this is not hypothetical, I think, is the challenge that we face right now, because there's a person in that position. So are you, like, logistically, are you suggesting that we cut?
I
that person
have
gets
always
paid?
learned in any organizational, when you're doing a reorg, any sort of, like, you look at positions, and then you define, there's roles. That's why job descriptions are so important, with roles and responsibilities. You don't look at who the person is that's doing the job. That's when you kind of can run into problems. But so this really, in my opinion, is not about the current individual who's doing the job. I mean, because it's no reflection on that person
Right,
at
but
all.
in this
I just,
exact
I
example-
believe that what happened here is that this large increase was because I believe the role was going to be changed into something that it is not going to be changed into. And it created a huge, that's why it was that's why we were paying $77 an hour instead of,
We are not
somewhere
paying
in the,
$77 an hour.
well, we are. In
We are not.
2025, there was no deputy and it was $32,000. So,
We are
I mean, you
not,
just do the math.
because we also didn't have
$32,000
an
at 12
accountant, we
hours.
didn't have a
Okay.
finance,
Okay.
we did not have that.
It's
support
definitely
from
way
the
above the
management.
$30 an hour
Yes, but we
average.
didn't have any of that support.
Okay, but we do have
We
it
did-
now.
Hold on 1 second, let me ask the person who's actually going to
Okay.
be running the department, and that's where the complexity comes in, because she literally just stepped into the role. Hi.
Hi.
In your opinion, this is your department, you work with these people for this upcoming year, given the amount of work that you foresee happening and the amount of responsibility that you expect from this role, are you comfortable with the number?
At 12 hours a week, yes.
Then I'd say we switch it to hourly.
Which this board can only recommend, and
Yeah.
if you could put that on the agenda for next week, that would be great.
I already have it on.
I just, I found the job description from when we posted it last fall, and I will also send that to, actually, do you want me to send it to you too, Jim?
Sure, thank you.
And he can disseminate.
And also just to, as a background, when I saw what was happening, and hopefully, now I'm really amazed at what you were saying, because when I saw what was happening and when I realized the depth of it, I, as an accountant, I was
Pretty
shocked.
alarming.
Right. It was very alarming. So it's a lot of work,
What-
and it's very important.
One other thing, I went to Chester's, New Hampshire's annual report and compared their finance budget, which is $170,000. So I think looking position to position may not be an accurate reflection of,
They must have another.
Well, they
They
must
must have a
have,
finance director.
which is what
Yeah.
Julie was saying, is that we're not spending money on
TA,
a
isn't it?
finance director. We're spending the money with the treasurer. So whether we switch it to hourly or whatnot,
Yeah.
I don't think that this warrants further discussion.
I would like to make a motion to accept the finance budget at 70,000,
Second.
or no?
Yes,
Okay,
sorry. Yep.
No.
I was gonna say,
I was just looking at the wrong line.
so there's a motion to accept the finance budget at $70,000. And and it was a second.
Yes.
Any further discussion on that?
And that was with the recommendation that that position be switched to hourly?
Correct.
yes.
So just for my own math here, finance, so,
At 12, as expected 12 hours a week.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
that is something that the select board will have to
Right.
decide.
Just a
We're gonna,
recommendation.
so because
I
it's
just want
switching to
that on record.
hourly, no, I know, because they're switching to hourly, we're gonna have to pick a number.
so that line that's 34,400 would be the deputy and the treasurer.
Mm-hmm.
And the deputy is at 1 day, 8 hours, 1 day a month, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then the treasurer is 12 hours per week.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to take equals, well, I'm just figuring out what that hourly rate is divided by.
Before you put
Hello,
too
what
much
is it?
effort into it, though, the select board is gonna have to
I
pick
just
a
want to
number
know for
anyway.
myself. That means
Oh,
nothing
okay.
for our vote. Is that right? I don't think
No.
that's right.
Mm,
No, that's
no.
not right. 8 times 52. 12 hours.
12 times 52?
12 times 52.
The 8 and 12 threw me
Yeah,
off.
I don't know how that. Is that right? No, that's wrong, because this is assuming
The-
I have to get.
Yeah, you're too,
That's-
The treasurer should be 32,200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, that was, you're calculating at $33.
Correct.
Oh,
No.
You're doing the
You know
same
what?
thing I was
Don't
doing
worry.
before.
And
which
we
is
don't need
like-
to, we don't need to do this now. We don't need to do this now.
Wait.
We had a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? So it passes,
610. Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
And
Make a motion to take it out.
you got enough?
Yeah,
More than enough.
but I think that I do think finishing that was worth the extra 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
minutes,
do
so
too.
you
I
don't
do
have to
too.
Start over again.
We do have another meeting next Monday. We can finish these other budgets then. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Just one thing though, I would just want, just ask if there's anything from the public before we shut down.
Oh, yes, I'll concede to that.
Hold on. The public comments, important.
Yes.
Thanks. I just have two quick comments. I've been trying to follow the budget committee on the TV set, and I also came to a couple meetings. We've been away for a month or two. And last time I was here, there seemed to be a struggle about what was going to be presented at town meeting, whether it was going to be a budget that equals 104% of this year's, or it was going to be a budget that has 104% in it, but may also have different separate warrant articles that might exceed that. I don't know where that's ended up, but I kind of did an informal survey with the folks I know in town, and they're old like me, so you might not be in tune. But the expectation was very, very clear that they expected the select board and the budget committee to come to town meeting with a budget, warrants, everything included. It would not be more than 104% of what it is this year. And I don't know if that's aligned with what you're doing, and you don't have to tell me right now. I know people
Well,
wanna go with
I can answer that. That's the law. So what the law states is that the tax impact for this year
Mhm.
cannot be more than 4% higher than the tax impact last year. So that is appropriation, including warrants minus revenue, basically. That number cannot be more than 4% higher than last
That was the
year's.
basic understanding of the
I just
folks I
want to
spoke to.
clarify that the
Sure.
budget committee cannot recommend a number more than that.
That's right.
That's different from, because like, for example, if there's a big bond,
Correct.
that might fall outside of that. Or if there's a citizens petition warrant article to build a playground in the parking lot.
Yeah, so, but I think the first question, I think you were asking if warrants are included in the
Yes.
tax cap. So
Yes,
any
right.
warrant that has an appropriation is included.
Yes.
And
So some of the discussion around the dining room table was, so we go to the meeting in March,
Mhm.
and there's a number of warrants and operating budgets that come out to 104%. But will we see other warrants or other increases to the budget that would exceed the 104%?
And that can happen, and the law states that in that case, the warrant has to clearly state that this is overriding the tax cap, and it requires a 3/5 majority.
If it gets approved at all, like if the voting body has appetite for that at all.
Correct. So in other words, but that warrant by law, because it's going to be a tax cap override warrant, and the way I was told, explained it will work at our town meeting, this is what DRA told me, is that it's in order. So the order is important. So as we're going through the warrants, I will be keeping track of the total appropriation. And if we get to that point where we are now, okay, there's still warrants left that we haven't done. All those warrants, in order to be voted, we're going to have to amend to say this is a tax cap override. It requires a 3/5 majority, and I believe the law also states it has to be a ballot vote. So do you know what I'm saying? So that's how,
Yeah,
that's kind of how it works.
I get it. I think what's going to be really important is you don't try to unravel this during town meeting, that I don't know whether it's the moderator or the select board or the budget committee comes out with, clear explanation of how that process is going to work.
It
so we don't
will
get
be as
bogged
clear as mud.
It'll be clear.
Well,
It'll be
we
clear.
gotta
and-
use
and
a
I-
strainer
I'll-
then on
I
it
will
to
definitely be
get rid of the
tracking that
mud.
as we go
But-
at town meeting, for sure.
And I think, so here's the challenge that we're going to face, and I know that you and I have talked about this, Jim, is that because the order matters, let's say that there are 12, 15, I don't know, 10, let's say 10 warrant articles. And the budget committee has picked the 6 that fall within the cap, and those are the ones they approved. And the select board has picked 5 that they approve, but they're different from their 6. That's where the order all of a sudden matters. And that's where I think the taxpayers can decide within the cap, where do you want to spend the money? Because the select board and the budget committee don't necessarily have to agree.
I don't think we're going to solve it tonight, but
No,
the thing
and
is,
at the end
it's
of the
gotta
day,
be
the
very,
legislative
very
body
clear before
controls
you walk
all of
into
that. I mean,
meeting
it doesn't
in
matter what the
March.
select board or the budget committee
What
recommends.
needs to be clear in your mind before we walk into the meeting in March?
What what we've talked about here, but in a nice and concise fashion. You're going to see some warrants that are approved by the budget committee and the select board. You'll see others.
Yep.
You mean
approved
recommended?
by the
Recommended.
select board,
Recommended.
But not,
Yes.
recommended.
No, it's
recommended.
recommended,
Yeah.
correct.
But not because they necessarily think they're a bad idea, but because they just can't, like, there's a
not
limit to
enough
what they
money.
can approve.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All
But
right.
that again doesn't mean that the voting body can't decide, you know what? You couldn't vote for the playground on the top of the building, but we really want the playground on the top of the building, so we're gonna override that. It's up to the voters. It's up to the
whatever's clear,
taxpayers.
Yeah. The other quick comment that came up in these conversations was everybody's enamored by the building up on North Road. It isn't ours, and we all
It's
understand
not.
it's not ours. But we have a hard time believing that that's not going to impact dramatically our tax on the county budget. And it's interesting, the county comes out with an annual report, like a corporate annual report.
Mhm.
And, what we get charged is a very small percentage, but their total operating budget is 53 million.
Mhm.
But, yeah, I mean, if you guys can get a sense of what that number is going to be, or we just hear from the
So-
state on what it is? when they
So,
set the tax
not
rate?
yet. I think we do get that bill soon. 600 something. However, the impact to Brentwood specifically is more than just the bill you're holding in your hand,
Yeah.
because due to the fact that they are located in Brentwood, we are required to respond to them if they call for help. So if they need an ambulance or a fire truck, we have to respond.
No, tell them we'd be happy to for a fee.
That is beyond my purview.
Agreed.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. That it? Okay, motion to,
We had a motion and a second.
And then you asked.
oh,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Ooh. No, I mean, that's inside. No, I know, but the reconciling. I know. But. I'm sure if I'm.
Again, this is not personal. It's not-
No,
it's
I know,
nothing to do with
I
you.
know.
I didn't do your job.
I
I'm
think
not a
like
CPA.
there's
I didn't
something.
do your job. It's not.
I think with the mess, he probably is doing some, with like the history, I think he probably is.
But I mean,
You know?
that's gonna be fixed, right?
I think so, but I don't know how soon. Anyways. Yeah. I know.
This is gonna